It's no secret. Micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, known as MSMEs, are the backbone of our economy. Because of MSMEs, tens of thousands of Bahamians, fishermen, farmers, tour operators, retailers, and more earn a living from the manifestation of entrepreneurial dreams. So, if MSMEs are supporting our economy, shouldn't someone support their success? At Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center, our mission is to support the evolution of MSMEs in the Bahamas. We equip and empower entrepreneurs by removing roadblocks and providing access to training, funding, business advising, and mentorship. Founded in 2018, Access Accelerator has helped thousands of entrepreneurs launch startups and expand existing businesses in 15 islands across our archipelago.
With the opportunity that Access Accelerator granted to me, I was able to purchase groceries wholesale. I was able to step my marketing game up. I was able to, enhance my business management skills.
I used to think, government, they don't check and they're not thinking, they don't care about small business surviving. No. The advisors, especially Ms. O'Connor and her team here, they want you to succeed.
Through strategic partnerships at Access Accelerator, we're able to maximize the economic impact of MSMEs so that they continue to represent a path out of poverty and drive development of a robust and resilient economy.
Typically for large investment projects, especially in the past, when people thought about economic opportunity, it was mostly focused on jobs, right? How many jobs are we going to provide to the Bahamian people? Well, our commitment is a little bit different. Our commitment includes jobs, but we're also looking at ownership opportunities for Bahamians. Are there ways that we can encourage small business growth in communities like Central and South Eleuthera, where our project is, that can strengthen those communities and provide wealth-building opportunities for the people who live there? So Access Accelerator obviously provides us a channel, a kind of pre-baked program to ensure that we can reach out to those folks in the community and say, hey, before we get started in 2024, let's get your businesses together, right? Let's get them sorted, let's get them established so you could take full advantage of the economic opportunities that will necessarily come with our development coming on stream.
Access Accelerator has helped Bahamian entrepreneurs access over $70 million in loans, grants, and equity financing, providing capital for inventory, equipment, construction, and more.
Nassau Cruise Port, in its agreement with government, committed to seeding grant money to the SBDC in the tune of about $1 million. And we wanted to make sure that a good portion of that grant money went to the tenants, the small businesses that existed in formerly what was Festival Place, that went to those tenants to help them start up with funds they would not normally have had access to. And SBDC is a perfect partner for that.
As a Small Business Development Center, or SBDC, Access Accelerator is a resource hub for MSMEs, but we're also so much more. We're advocates, an independent voice, advancing the views and concerns of Bahamian MSMEs before local, regional, and international policymakers. Advocacy is one of our most critical services, and one of the reasons why, even though there are thousands of SBDCs throughout the world, there is only one Access Accelerator. To learn more about Access Accelerator, visit accessaccelerator.org.
evening, everyone. My name is Nazasha Colley, and I'm a business analyst here at Access Accelerator. It gives me a great pleasure this evening just to introduce you to the launch of our Women's Entrepreneurs Initiative. This is our first info session, and tonight we'll be talking a little bit about some of the challenges women face as entrepreneurs, just gaining access to capital, being respected, and just really being able to have a system that supports them as they launch their businesses. So I just want to just jump into some ground rules before we begin our session tonight. First, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave it in the chat, and we'll ask everyone to keep their mics muted, please. So just introducing our speakers. We have Ms. Kenron Brennan, who serves as the Family Island Manager here at Access Accelerator. In his role, he oversees a team of small business advisors for the islands of
So then what you so then your data should be on
Grand Bahama, Long Island, Eleuthera, where they champion the 4 core services of Access Accelerator, offering training, network, advocacy, mentorship, and providing access to capital. Enron is a 20-year veteran in the financial services sector, having served in various roles across a number of institutions in his career. He attended the College of the Bahamas, where he studied secondary education with a focus on history. He is also a graduate of the class of 1999 at Aquinas College. Please help me by giving Mr. Brennan a virtual welcome.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Azasha, for that warm introduction. So this evening, we're here to talk about our Female Entrepreneurship Initiative and to kind of give a foundation or a baseline for this initiative and what the ladies involved in entrepreneurship can expect from us as we go through this month. And just generally, what is the kind of support that the Access Accelerator is going to provide, not just for this month, but as we go throughout the remainder of the year and just what we do generally. In addition, we'll talk about some funding initiatives that that we have ongoing throughout the year, but also some that are special and specific to this time or this month, where we have this special focus on female entrepreneurship. You know, as I go through this presentation, I will echo Ms. Colley's request to keep the microphones muted, and to also, when at the end of the presentation, we'll take any questions or comments that you need to make, and we will do our best to kind of respond to them as quickly as possible. All right. So I will share my screen. So can we all see the screen?
No, sir. No, sir.
Let me try this again. Can you see my screen now?
No, sir. Still not shared.
Okay.
Okay, your cover slide just appeared, Kenron.
Okay. Can you still see it?
Yes, so we're here.
Okay. All right, fine. So we're here to talk about, like I said, the Women Entrepreneurship Initiative. So what exactly is captured in this initiative? But before we even get there, let's talk about the who is involved in this initiative. So the goal here is to empower Bahamian women with training, networking, mentorship, and funding opportunities. And this initiative is a collaboration between the Bahamas Development Bank, the U.S. Embassy, the Small Business Development Center, of course, and the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce. These organizations came together and recognizing some of the challenges that female entrepreneurs have in the small business space. Recognizing this challenge, wanted to kind of create an initiative that brought specific focus to the challenges women face, but also to try to bring answers to some of those issues that entrepreneurs generally face, but specifically female entrepreneurs. So what is the program involved? There are, of course, 3 quadrants to this. It's connect and learn. So we'll provide, or we will be having virtual information sessions to discuss funding opportunities for female entrepreneurs. We will have central events that kind of will function as an opportunity for you to kind of meet with us and hear more about what we do, but specific to female entrepreneurs, how we can help. These events, specifically in this case, tea parties, will be held in Providence, Grand Bahama, and other family islands, where, like I said, you'll get an opportunity to meet and talk with us. Also, we will be able to connect, or we will connect with graduates from the Academy of Women Entrepreneurs and female entrepreneurs previously funded through the work of the SBDC. And finally, of course, we'll provide access to mentorship groups throughout the course of this month, so that women can kind of meet and have a strategic touch point to get support, assistance, and advice on how it is they can grow and expand as entrepreneurs. In addition to connecting and learning, we also will provide access to funding. So we will provide grant funding, loan funding, or equity funding for startup or existing businesses throughout this month. In addition to this, we will provide funding programs that include specifically women entrepreneurs, through standalone grants, through a microloan program, and of course, our flagship program, which is the guaranteed loan program, right? And the one thing to note is that the guaranteed loan program is a program that runs through the entirety of the year. So this opportunity for the guaranteed loan program will run for the remainder of 2023 and beyond. So, there will be consistent opportunities for funding, maybe not necessarily through the grant dimension or the microloan dimension, but definitely through the pathway of our guaranteed loan program. And finally, we want to promote businesses. We will hold a weekly podcast series to feature women who own and lead businesses across the Bahamas, as well video features of women entrepreneurs on ZNS, cable TV, and of course, our SBDC social media platforms. The idea is we want to bring specific focus on women that are doing their thing when it comes to entrepreneurship in general. And we don't want to just be Nassau-centric. We don't want to be Nassau-focused. The SBDC's mission and goal is to assist entrepreneurs across the entirety of the Bahamas. And it is specifically a part of my mission as a family admin manager to ensure that there is no gap in services provided to the islands, whether it be Nassau, whether it be Inagua, Eleuthera, Maguana. We want to make sure that every Bahamian, in this instance, every Bahamian female entrepreneur is or has access to funding. And they're not limited by geographic location. So next, we touched on this a little bit in the previous slide, but let's talk about the funding opportunities. Under the Women Entrepreneurship Initiative, existing and startup MSMEs can access grants, loan, and equity funding as follows: a $10,000 standalone grant, a $20,000 matching grant under the guaranteed loan program, the $50,000 microloan, guaranteed loan funding up to $500,000, and $250,000 in equity funding. For the sake of clarification, the $20,000 matching grant, as well as the $500,000 guaranteed loan, as well as the equity portion that's mentioned here, all work in tandem together as a part of our flagship program. The $10,000 standalone grant, however, is a feature that is specific to the Women Entrepreneurship Initiative that's being hosted for this month. So once the month has expired, the access to this particular program, grant funding, will close, right? So specifically, who are our funding partners? We have Fidelity Bank, the Royal Bank of Canada, Bahamas Development Bank, Bahamas Entrepreneurial Venture Fund, Simplified Lending, National Workers Cooperative Credit Union, as well as Teachers and Salaried Workers Cooperative Credit Union. Just as a note as well, MSME is based in agriculture, fishing, manufacturing, green energy, and technology industries are eligible for an IDB or World Bank guarantee of up to 90%. Other industries eligible for IDB other industries are only eligible for a 75% guarantee. And we can kind of get into that a little bit later on into the presentation. But let's look at the statistics. Why is it necessary for us to hold an initiative such as this one? We've realized through the work that we have done thus far that male-owned businesses are outpacing female businesses in a number of different categories. The first is an actual funding provided. So in the pie chart in the top left-hand side of the screens, we see that male-owned businesses have received thus far $46,021,067 in funding. Comparatively, female-owned businesses have received significantly less, $26,098,369 in funding. And of course, we see that those funding amounts are for female entrepreneurs are spread out between these top 6 industries. So we have 7 industries, sorry. Food and beverage, of course, is leading the way, followed by fashion, beauty, education, agriculture, professional services, and then tourism. One of the things that we want to do strategically is see female entrepreneurs move into different industry types. While we are happy with the headway that's been made in these top 7 categories, we are looking to see more diversification into different industries where women are taking advantage and participating. Generally speaking, though, when we talk about women in their participation in our guaranteed loan program thus far, we realize that women have a 92% approval rate in terms of funding at the guaranteed loan or in the guaranteed loan program. And this is a tremendous success. And I think women should be definitely proud of themselves. And I wonder if it could be that this is because women may be better at the management of the overall business environment that they're involved in. It's something to consider. But let's look at the average funding. Look at the average funding per entrepreneur. So female entrepreneurs, on average, are requesting $27,385 in funding, where male entrepreneurs are requesting $47,153 in funding. So the ask is considerably different. Again, another question, why is it that female entrepreneurs are requesting less while having such a high approval rate? Maybe this is something that we need to dive into and discuss a little bit more during our question and answer period. The final small note that I want to mention here is the debt appetite and risk tolerance for women is much lower than men, hence said the 72% disparity in funding request. But we can dive into that a little bit later on in our presentation. So let's talk about the connecting and learning opportunity and our flagship event for this month, the afternoon tea party. This tea party will be held under the patronage of the Prime Minister's wife, Miss Anne Marie Davis. The initiative partners will host tea parties as well on the islands of Providence, like I mentioned with the Prime Minister's wife, but also Grand Bahama, Abaco, Eleuthera, Andros, and Long Island. And the theme for this event will be Get Comfortable with Being Uncomfortable. And our keynote address will come from Miss Sherelle Sampson, CEO of Canvy. So a little bit more of a focus on the access to funding. So the grant program that we talked about earlier, the application window will open on April 17th, and it'll run from the 17th through to April 28th, 2023. The microloan program, of course, will also launch on April 17th and run throughout the remainder of the year. As well, the guaranteed loan program, the launch date as well, is April 17th and run through the remainder of the year. And while these programs, the microloan and the guaranteed loan programs respectively, will remain open until the remainder of the year, we do encourage you to try to get your information together and go ahead and submit your applications during or as close to the launch date as possible, right? So what's the process for application? So for the standalone grant specifically, complete the gender equality survey, watch the required training videos, submit application documents, which are inclusive of, the executive summary, a valid passport photo page or voter's card, a valid business license or proof of renewal application, vendor invoices, and wire instructions. Approval or denial notice will be provided in writing within 14 days of the application submission. And of course, the funding is up to $10,000 and it's grant only funding. So this is something I know from my interaction with different Family Island clients, has been something that persons have been clamoring for, they've been asking for, and this is an opportunity for you to take advantage of one of these grant-only initiatives, right? Just an important note to pay attention to as well is applicants must choose the vendors that have business bank accounts, since the grant proceeds will not be dispersed directly to applicants nor to vendors that have a personal bank account. So we have to make sure that we get persons that we're getting these different inventory items or different inputs for our businesses. We have to make sure that we are doing business with persons that have the appropriate or proper setup in order to kind of engage us and for us to go ahead and make proper payments to these individuals. Again, the application process continued, but now with specific focus on the microloan and the guaranteed loan programs. You would have to submit the application documents for first review. The second review will be conducted if deemed necessary after scoring. And we can kind of talk about that a little bit later on in our session here tonight, but the application will be reviewed by some internal team members, which will require there to be some scoring applied. Next, an investment committee pitch will be required. So you will kind of have a presentation before our internal investment committee, which will determine at least a portion of the outcome of your actual funding application request. The application documents are a business plan. The SBDC will subsidize up to $1,500 of the business plan writer fee, as well as vendor invoices, wire instructions, corporate documents, if applicable, key personnel resumes, SBDC business overview, an SBDC non-disclosure agreement, the BDB cover page, a BDB disclosure agreement, personal statement of affairs, driver's license, an NIB card, as well as historical financial statements, which we will pay through a voucher program up to $500 of the fee for. Funding special note, up to $20,000 in grant funding, which must equal to less than 50% of the total funding request, and up to $50,000 in microloan funding, or up to $500,000 in guaranteed loan funding should be the funding request. And again, we can kind of clarify that as we move along in our presentation here tonight. The investment committee pitch. I kind of mentioned this a little bit early on in the previous slides. And let's look at the who, the what, and the why. A committee of 8 rotating members with expertise in various professional industries will review the business plan and listen to the entrepreneur's pitch. What? Based on the business owner's ability to present and defend her business plan and funding request, the committee members will independently complete an online rubric with 10 voting criteria, including but not limited to business viability, management expertise, realistic projections, regulatory compliance, owner's investment, strategic partnership, and innovative products or services. Why? 5 of 8 committee members must agree to the business plan and the funding application, and it has to score 80 points or higher. The microloan portion of the funding request will conditionally be approved for up to $50,000. As well, the IDB or World Bank guarantee, MEGA guarantee, will automatically be approved between 75% or 90% for the guaranteed loan portion of the funding request up to $500,000. A matching grant of up to $20,000 may also be approved. Grant and microloan approval letters will be signed and disbursement will commence within standard guidelines. Loan guarantee approval letters will be forwarded to financial institution for loan application review and approval. So there's a clear approach to how we go about providing approvals at the grant level, the microloan level, and the guaranteed loan program level, all with the view toward we want to get this done as quickly, as fairly, and as efficiently as possible. So we want you to sign up today. Of course, the contact information listed here can be used to reach out to us. Again, the programs launch on the 17th of April. So we look forward to seeing your applications and hearing from you. But that is it from my side for now. And Azasha, I don't know if we have any questions as yet in the chat, but I'm happy to answer or respond to any questions, concerns that our participants here have. And I already see one hand up.
Okay, thank you so much for that presentation, Kenron. Yes, so we'll kick off our questions first with Ms. Ruby Russell. If you can unmute for us and ask your question, we'd like it. If you don't want to use your mic option, you can also type it in the chat.
Hello, Ms. Russell.
Okay, we'll move on to Ms. Charmaine Francis.
Hi, Ms. Francis, how are you doing?
Okay, once again, I just want to mention for the persons asking about the recording, we will provide that for you. Ms. Woodside, I see you have a question for us tonight.
Hi, I just wanted to confirm, if approved, would the individual or the applicant have to have a business account for the transfer?
The applicant, while we strongly advise that you should have a business account just for proper protocol, it's not necessary because the funding that or the disbursements will go directly to um, the the vendors or the different companies that you're doing business with. So we're not doing any transfers directly to you. So it's not a expectation from our side as a matter of, well, for the grant program dimension of this. But when it comes time for the guaranteed loan program and also the micro loan portion of it, the institutions that are booking the loans will ask or will require that you open some sort of business banking account. Yes. So for the grant programs, not so much, but it is something as a matter of practice I recommend that you do. But definitely for the guaranteed loan portion, there will be that expectation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Kenron, I see we have a next question. Is it possible for us to use international vendors?
Yes, it is possible for us to use international vendors. The expectation from our side is that we're able to get that vendor's banking details as well as the invoicing and so on for that particular vendor.
Also, too, is there any particular age range requirement in order to get started with this process?
No, there is no limitation for participation.
Okay, so question, what if I have a new business, a business that's less than a year old and cannot provide any financial statements? Would I still be eligible for this program?
You would still, your business would fall into the range of a startup business, and startup businesses are welcome to participate here.
So separate and apart from this initiative, if I wanted to start a business, I have an idea, I don't know how to get started. What are some of the ways that, I can come and benefit at Access Accelerator?
Oh, that's a great question. One of our core pillars, so one of the things that we constantly talk about around the office here, as you're well aware, is that we do more than just fund. So where a client requires additional support in terms of training for the ideation development or idea development, where a client needs advocacy, someone to actually go on their behalf and speak with a financial institution or a third party that may be critical to their success. We are in a position to use our acumen in the training dimension or our influence from a mentorship dimension and speak to the powers that be on that client's behalf. Now, and not in every situation, the outcome would be, I guess, one that the client would prefer or would be comfortable with, but we will go to whatever degree it takes to see that client be successful.
Okay, thank you. I just want to invite Ms. Shamia with her question, please. You can unmute.
Yes, thank you. My question is, for people like me who have digital businesses, a lot of the things that I need are online subscriptions. What is your recommendation for maybe a type of vendor that I could seek out to channel out those funds through? Because some of my software and other things I need are, and some of those companies, you can't request special payment arrangements.
I think in your case, we would have to do a business case and kind of see what the challenges are. The one thing I can tell you is that there may be limitations in what we can do, but what we try to do is be collaborative and come up with creative ways to solve challenges that we come up against, right? So, and what we want to do is meet in the middle somewhere. So, I mean, your situation may be a unique one, and maybe we need to, use this as a case study to see how we can support scenarios like the one you're providing here. But I would say the starting point is once you would have applied, and that is in the case of the guaranteed loan program and the grant program, I think we can we can kind of look at it and see where we come out at. I hope that answers your question.
It kind of does, but in my experience with applying for grants through SBDC, once you fill it out, you have to upload wire transfer information in order to proceed with submitting your account. And so like, I wouldn't be able to communicate this. So maybe in the form, you could have like a section where you can put in special circumstances that could be explained.
Yeah, definitely. I think you got cut off a little bit there, but definitely that's something that we can look at. What I would advise is that if you do have a special circumstance, that first of all, you reach out to us. I will put up again our contact information so that you can have it. But my advice would be to reach out to us early on in the process, kind of provide that degree of clarity, and we will work with you to try to get the request submitted. And we will take into consideration any sort of extenuating circumstances. However, we have to abide by our internal protocols. So that means that we would have to have the information as mentioned in the presentation.
Okay, we can run 2 questions. One, if I received funding previously for another business venture, can I apply again for this new program?
Of course you can. Of course you can.
Okay, in addition to that, if I don't know how to write a business plan, will Access Accelerator provide me with assistance in writing one in order to apply for the business grant?
We will, yes. So business plan writing support is one of our keys to providing support to businesses that want to grow, that want to develop. And we definitely provide that as a service of ours, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Next question, can we start up a business and apply for the microloan/grant for a business that has an agricultural focus?
The answer there is yes as well. You can in theory, come to us for this kind of support, and we will provide it. The thing that I will say though is the clearer the focus and the approach that's going to be taken to the business, the better it is for us in terms of providing that support. But definitely we're prepared to help in a situation like that.
Okay, even after receiving the funding, will Access Accelerator provide any additional support?
Yes, that is actually a fantastic question. So I talked about our training, talked about mentorship, and I talked about advocacy. A part of that mentorship component and kind of goes outside and goes into our advisory services. But we, as a part of our flagship program, provide this 3-year handshake with funded clients, where we provide post-funding advisory services. As well, we provide pre-funding advisory services as well. So for the individual that needs support in the development of their business plan, or further fleshing out of their ideas, the pre-funding dimension of our advisory services will walk with that client up to the point of funding. During the funding process, there is a connection that happens between the individual entrepreneur and our team that kind of takes you through that part of the process as well. And also, I mentioned already that post-funding, there is a longer term advisory service expectation that we provide, or that we fulfill, sorry, as a part of our programming offering.
Okay, can you briefly give us the guidelines for the grant portion again, and also some additional information on the loan repayments?
Okay. Additional, and by additional guidelines, what specifically is it that you would like to know?
What are some of the documents that I would need in order to get a grant?
Okay. Fine. So I'll go back to that slide on the presentation and kind of give you a direct breakdown of what it is. So the first thing you would need is to fill out the gender equality survey. Watch the required training videos because this is all a part of the application process. Submit the application documents, which are inclusive of an executive summary. That is a minimum of 3 pages or maximum of 3 pages, sorry. A valid photo, so passport photo page of your, sorry, the valid passport photo page or your voter's card. You need to have a valid business license or proof of renewal application. So proof that you submitted the business license renewal already or the actual up-to-date business license. The invoices from the vendors that you want to use, as well as the wire instructions for that vendor.
Okay, one additional question. What type of interest rates can we expect? And in addition to that, what determines which institution will provide you the funding?
That is a very good question. So the interest rates can vary. It's not something, it depends, and it goes institution by institution. So that's not something that I can say right out. There are though some characteristics that different banks are interested in. And what we try to do is reserve that for once we have a developed, fleshed out business plan and we can kind of have the conversation there. But there are lots of different inputs that go into making a credit viable, so to speak. And that also make it a better fit for one institution versus another.
Okay, does an R graduate need to go through the same process?
The process of business plan development, yes. So while they may have a business plan that they already have and they can work with, they still will go ahead and need to upload that business plan along with the supporting documents and go through the process of review.
Okay. Can you access more than one grant for another element of your business?
Access more than, I'm not sure I understand the question, but what I will say is that for this women entrepreneurship initiative, there is a standalone grant of $10,000 that is offered. And also as a part of the guaranteed loan program, there is a grant portion in the actual structure of the, so there is a 20,000 grant of up to a maximum of $20,000 that is offered as a part of the structure of the guaranteed loan program. And it's also a part of the structure of the microloan grant as well, microloan program as well, sorry.
Okay, so let me rephrase that and give you a scenario. Let's just say I have more than one business. Can I apply for several grants, you know, for each individual business?
The immediate answer is yes. In theory, you can do that. I don't know if they all would be approved, especially if it's seen, because what we want to do is provide the best opportunity for the most persons to get funding through these different initiatives. And while there's nothing to stop you from doing so, we want to provide the space for everyone to be able to participate here.
Okay, this is a two-part question. So for equipment, materials, and packaging that are not found locally, can those items be purchased through a shipping company? That's the first part. Second part being, if yes, are there any companies that you would recommend?
The answer to that question is yes. I would stop short of making a recommendation of a company What I will say is there are lots of reputable shipping companies around, and maybe we can provide a listing of different shipping companies that they can use, but we won't make a specific reference or referral to one company versus another.
Okay, and can you give us some key information that should be in our 3-page executive summary?
So the executive summary should cover what the business is, what sets your business apart. So what is the problem that you're trying to solve and how you intend to go about solving it. It also should include a profile of who your company is and how you essentially go about operating your business.
Sorry, is it possible that you can break down the differences between the funding again, please, the different structures? And you talked about grants, you talked about microloans, and then the guaranteed loan program. What's the difference?
Sure. So the grant is just that. Over the recent past, what we've done is we've moved away from providing grant-only funding. To my recollection, this would be the first time in the time that I've been with the organization that particular act says you were obligated.
Hi, can you unmute for us, please?
Sorry, I didn't realize that I was muted. Sorry. So I was saying that outside of the creative entrepreneurship initiative that was offered just a month ago, this would have been one of the first times in the recent past that we've provided grant-only funding. So what a grant means essentially is that this is funding that you don't have to pay back to the organization. The microloan and guaranteed loan are loans which require that they be paid back. They both have a grant element added to them. So that means that, let's say you want, or you need, sorry, $40,000 in funding for your business. Through the microloan, you can access that $40,000, and the breakdown could be $20,000 in grant funding, as well as $20,000 in microloan funding, which brings you to the total of $40,000. In the case of the guaranteed loan, where the funding cap cuts off at $500,000, you can still include the grant dimension, which is $20,000. You can add the $500,000 guaranteed loan dimension, and should you need some funding outside or a little bit in excess of the 500,000, you can go ahead and add an equity dimension, which will give, in exchange for that $250,000, a ownership percentage in the business that's being developed or the business that's in existence.
Okay, can you speak a little bit about if applicants are required to have collateral for loans and even if guaranteed?
That's a very good question. So in the case of a guaranteed loan, of course, depending on the size of the guarantee, there may be scenarios where there is a small gap in the funding that can be provided. In those instances, clients do have to provide additional collateral. So in an instance where a client is getting a 75% guarantee, there could be, and quite often are, scenarios where clients need to come up with additional collateral, whether it be cash, land, or some other asset the client needs to provide it to the financial institution in question. And each financial institution has different requirements, expectation, etc., on the kinds of assets that they will hold as collateral. However, in the case of a 90% guarantee, because it's a broader stake or dimension or cross-section of the funding that's being provided, the likelihood of the client needing that additional coverage is less likely.
Okay, you talked about, Access Accelerator not wanting to be Nassau-centric or New Providence-centric. What are the islands that we have a key presence on, and for islands that we don't have that senior business advisor, how can we get additional support?
Okay, so the first thing I would say is that our senior leadership of this organization, especially our executive director, has mandated that Family Island development is a key focus for us. To that end, every island is supported. The question may be, how is that? We have a network of islands that have resident advisors, and by extension, there are islands that have non-resident advisors that have direct responsibility for providing support to those individuals on those islands. I see the question from Ms. Curling, and I'm getting to Crooked Island right now. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to make direct reference to Miss the senior business advisor that's responsible for Crooked Island, Miss Ramona Taylor. She is resident in Long Island, and she has responsibility for Long Island, Auckland, and Crooked Island, as well as Rum Key, I think. Yes, it is Rum Key. So what she would do is, if a client signs up for program access or expresses an interest in our program, that call is redirected to Ms. Taylor, and she would reach out to the client on that island. In addition, Family Island advisors are required to, and this is a more recent development, they're required to visit all of the jurisdictions they have responsibility for at minimum twice per year. So earlier in February, I had the opportunity, along with our marketing manager who's on the call tonight, as well as Ms. Michaela Munnings, as well as the senior business advisor with responsibility for San Salvador and Cat Island, Ms. Anya Ferguson. We had the opportunity to travel to San Salvador, where we had some initiatives. So if we haven't arrived at your island as yet, please bear with us. We will get there. We are excited about helping the Family Islands. But if you need contact details, email addresses, and so on for those different island representatives, please let me know, drop it in the comments, and we'll make sure that we get that information over to you. The other thing is that, and I'd be remiss if I don't point this out on this conversation, I think as an organization, we have broad representation of persons that are from most of, if not all of the islands of the Bahamas. They were born, bred, raised there, still active in the communities on the island. Azasha, I see you smiling. And that is something that we're proud of. And it's something that keeps us connected and keeps the vision of Family Island affairs and Family Island representation at the forefront of what we do here.
Okay, so just in terms of the next question, singularly just a grant approval process, is that something that's handled in-house at Access Accelerator, outside of your strategic partners?
So the short answer for that is, in this instance, yes. That may not be the instance, or that may not be the situation for every grant funding initiative that we host or that is put on, but for this one, yes.
Okay, what would make my application a little more attractive for the grant approval aside from someone else?
I think, as with every business and any business presentation, it's understanding or the interplay between the different dimensions of the information that's presented. So when we talk about, first of all, the executive summary, understanding what the problem is that you're trying to solve, who your business is, what advantageous product, service, or relationship you have nurtured that puts you in a position to be more successful than the next guy that may be in the same business as you are. Also understanding, because some of the questions that are on that application, well, I haven't seen this application as yet, but based on some of the applications I've seen previously, sharing financial data that is actually relevant and consistent with a business that is healthy financially. I think a lot of times we go ahead and we fill out applications without really thinking about how well the numbers actually play together and how they feed into each other. So I think when we look at it from that standpoint, the quality or the viability, sorry, it's the better word, the viability of what's being proposed from the executive summary layout, but also the numbers that you share with us in the application.
Okay, and when we talk about being on the family island or living on the family island, a cost that you always have to factor in is the mailboat cost. So a question from Ms. Cooper is, how should shipping costs via mailboat be included in the invoices, as there isn't a set rate for items as well as a total that is calculated on shipment date?
That is a very difficult question to answer. I think that transport around the family islands is a major issue, especially in my travels, because even beyond a cost dimension, just from having the availability of product and being able to have a clear pipeline of product to provide, or inputs to create or to deliver a service, is a major hurdle that most businesses have to cross. I think though that as best as possible, I mean, the invoicing scenario that the business owner uses to kind of present us with the information is key. Trying to use shippers that have a pretty consistent approach to the way that they charge for these different services is key. Yeah, but that's a very, very good question. I don't know if I have a direct answer for it.
Okay, and just as a reminder, how can we access the application again and find additional information about this initiative?
The application will be launched on April 17th. And of course, if you keep up to date with our social media, of course, we also send out consistent email blasts to our clients with all of our information, of course, as well. I promise to put back up some of our contact details, but definitely the deadline or the application open date is April 17th. So you can tune into our social media and other media outlets to hear more and see more about us, and about us in general, but specific to this initiative as well.
Do you reimburse for previous purchases made on credit, and can these invoices be included or receipts?
My immediate thought is no, but I'm not 100% sure there. But I have not seen a scenario where we reimburse for purchases previously made. My suggestion would be to that client, if there is something else that the business needs, they can submit the invoice for that particular item. But in terms of reimbursing for previous purchases, I would say that's not something that the grant funding would cover.
Okay, so here's a scenario where I currently have a business, but I want to take advantage of this new opportunity because I have a next business idea in mind that will benefit my island. I have not applied for a business license as yet. Is there any amount of time I should have a business, or you will be able to accept and consider an application with a business license that is in the process of being approved?
The answer there is that we would need to have a executed business license or proof that it's submitted. And as far as the business's status, startups are welcome. I think that cuts kind of to the core of what it is that they're asking. We're open to businesses that may be new or may be trying to bring something new to the market that otherwise is not available. We're happy to partner with that individual. However, the documentation of that business needs to be clear, and easily accessible.
Okay, and for the islands that you mentioned that don't have a resident advisor, are you currently able to share your contact information so we can reach out to you?
I can share, yes, I can share my information.
Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions. If I skipped over your question, please feel free to post it again.
So I'm just going to take this time, as Asha, sorry, shamelessly, to shout out. There he is, our team leader, Mr. Leo Roll, who is helping us in the chat section, responding to a lot of the questions and the concerns and bringing clarifications. So I wanted to shout him out. I also wanted to shout out our interim Deputy Executive Director, if she's on the call, for being a part of the session tonight, and also our Executive Director. Ladies and gentlemen, these people put in a lot of hours, a lot of work, a lot of time putting together and crafting these kinds of sessions for you. And I think we definitely need to recognize that effort.
Okay, just seeing one more question. Will startups be required to have an approved business name?
Yes, hence the insistence on having the approved business license, or at least proof that the license has been applied for.
Okay, and just before we end tonight, Kenron, can you please just tell us again, how can we contact Access Accelerator? How can we get more information? What are some of the social media pages that we have to reach out?
So our able tech team, shout out to them, they just put up the graphic with our contact information. And the quickest way to get us is through our home website, which is www.accessaccelerator.org. As well, we can be contacted by telephone 461-7232 or 359-0626. And of course, you can send any requests or questions or concerns you have to helpdesk@sbdcbahamas.com. As well, we're available on Instagram, IG, Facebook, using our handle Access Accelerator. Use those to look us up, and you can very easily find us there. Also, I think I'm going to drop in the comment section my email address, so that you can drop me a line if there is a challenge that you have or a question that you have outside of this session, I'd be happy to answer or refer you to the team member that has the answer to the question that you may have.
Okay, thank you so much, Ken-On. And just before we end for tonight, I see one more question. What is the processing time for an approval?
That depends on the program. If we're talking about the grant application, the grant programming, there is a 14-day wait period before we start sending out approval or decline letters. In terms of the guaranteed loan and micro loan program, I stop short of giving exact dates, but what I do say is it can be as quick as a week, or it can be as long as 3 months. So the difference in time there is based on the readiness of the business plan or completeness of the business plan, and also the individual entrepreneur's ability to kind of provide the information that's required to kind of perfect the plan, and their ability level to either do it themselves or refer to a business plan writer. We always say it's better to kind of get a business plan writer involved.
Okay, and quick question. Can you apply for a grant and loan/loan guarantee funding under one application?
You can, but the grant that you would be applying for is the guaranteed loan grant. So the matching grant is what we call it internally. That's tied to the guaranteed loan program.
Okay, can you please repeat the website and the numbers, please? Okay, just some additional questions in the chat. Can you please provide us with the contact information for the representative for Grant Bahama? And additionally, can you apply for the $10,000 grant and a matching grant? Sorry, just one moment, guys. We're having a bit of a technical challenge.
Sorry, hello, am I back?
Yes, you're back. We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So I was saying that there is a difference between the guarantee that's grant that's available as a standalone, but the grant that is tied to the guaranteed loan application is limited at a ceiling of $20,000.
Okay. Also, if possible, can you provide the information for the Grand Bahama Senior Business Advisor? Just skipping down. If I do get a business plan done by a business plan writer, will SBDC cover the cost?
So the the answer to that, sorry, is yes. As mentioned in the presentation I just shared, we will cover up to $1,500 of the actual cost of producing the business plan.
Okay, and are the repayment terms for the loan decided by the lending institution or by Access Accelerator?
The repayment terms are determined by the lending institution.
Okay, and just one more time again, can we also apply for the $10,000 grant and a matching grant?
No, you can't. The $10,000 grant is a standalone grant, what we call internally a standalone grant, which means that it is the only funding stream available through that program. So it's just the $10,000 that's available through that mechanism.
Does SBDC have a listing of business plan writers that we recommend?
We have some plan writers that can develop business plans on behalf of our clients. We generally provide that information to the client and we allow them to make the choice.
Okay, thank you. And just one more time for the persons that joined late, can you just give us briefly the difference between the funding, whether it be grant, microloan, or the guaranteed loan program?
Okay, fine, no problem. So the grant is a standalone grant, which is funding that is not required to be paid back, and it is specific to this initiative. So at the close of the grant window period, which is, it opens on the 17th of April and it closes on the 28th, I think. At the 28th, this particular grant funding opportunity will be closed. The guaranteed loan program is our flagship program, and there is an option of getting funding of up to $500,000 from an external financial institution, of course, with a $20,000 matching grant. Also being a part of that structure. In addition to that, there's also an opportunity under the same guaranteed loan program. You have the grant, you have a loan. There's an opportunity to get funding of up to $250,000 in the form of equity, an equity investment. And an equity investment simply means that in exchange for this funding that they will provide, the person providing, or the entity, sorry, providing the funding, which is Bahamas Entrepreneurial Venture Fund, will receive in exchange an ownership percentage of that particular business, owned by, of course, the requesting entrepreneur. The next initiative is the microloan fund, which is very similar to the guaranteed loan. It's funding you have to pay back. It's provided through a financial institution, whether it be a bank or a credit union or whatever the structure of the organization is. And the structure there will be this loan portion through the bank and also a matching grant of up to a maximum of $20,000.
Okay, Cameron, I just want to thank you again for an amazing presentation. What I'll have our tech team do is just drop our contact information again. We have a very responsive team, so as soon as you send those inquiries to us, we'll get back to you. And I'll just take our last two questions before we end the night. So I see, is there a deadline for the loan guarantee or the micro loan program?
There isn't a deadline. It's open-ended. So this program, both of those programs will run until at least the end of 2023.
And is there a loan for our grant program?
There is no loan attached, and that is a very good question. And like I would have said in my responses previously, this is one of those initiatives where this is grant only fund. So it's a standalone grant. There's no loan element here. There's no repayment expectation for the grant, for the standalone grant dimension of $10,000. There is no repayment expectation.
Okay, well, once again, I want to thank you for an amazing presentation. I'll just leave you with final words for tonight.
So the Access Accelerator, we've been around for 4 years, and we've done Lots of really tremendous work. For 2023, we are focused on even further expanding and creating more impact for the entrepreneurs that we serve. The Women's Entrepreneurship Initiative is one of those core drivers for us here. We want to see women entrepreneurs get access to funding, but even more than that, we want to see them thrive. We want to see them be successful. And we want to be the mechanism that they use to get to their next level as they grow in business and grow as individuals.
All right, thank you so much for those final words. Guys, try to get your application in as soon as possible. And, we have a team here happy to support you. But without further ado, I'd like to wish you all a good night.